Mangwadani Malelepo Vukenjani Keklas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning. This is your portal into Africa's important stories. Today, Dar es Salaam erupted in protest after a disputed election with curfews and violent police clashes. Sudan's RSF captured El-Fashir, displacing thousands and prompting witness Ikram Abdelhameed to describe executions, while London protesters demanded global action. RSF leader Hemedti announces an inquiry. Wole Soyinka of Nigeria had his U.S. visa revoked. Cameroon's Paul Biya wins his 8th term, and Zambia faces a cholera outbreak. In Namibia, youth voter registration climbs, Vice President Witbooi promotes economic opportunities, and debt falls in the nation. South Africa's Dis-Chem reports growth, diesel prices stay low, and African billionaires advance football ownership. Africa Good Morning can be watched on DSTV 285, GoTV 25, ntvafrica.my.na, and NTV Africa on YouTube. Keep in mind, it's Africa with a K. My name is Ashwin Berry. This is Africa Good Morning. Let's get into the show.
Life is unpredictable, and one needs to be protected against any eventuality. Get Santam legal access from as little as 50 Namibian dollars a month for when you find yourself in need of legal representation due to civil cases, criminal prosecution, and family matters such as divorce, child maintenance, and custody. It also covers labor disputes, disciplinary hearings, and unfair dismissal or retrenchment. With Santam Legal Access, you'll receive free legal advice on almost every legal aspect, whether the specific matter is covered by your policy or not. For true peace of mind and legal protection when you need it most, call us on 061 292 8000. Santam. This is freedom.
We continue with updates from Tanzania. Police in Dar es Salaam fired gunshots and tear gas to disperse protesters who returned to the streets after Tanzania's general election, which was marred by violence and exclusion of President Samia Suluhu Hassan's two main challengers. Demonstrations erupted in several cities as critics accused the government of repressing dissent. Authorities imposed an overnight curfew in the city and restricted internet access nationwide. Protests resumed in Bagala, Gongo, Lamoto, and Kivuya, where police clashed with crowds. The U.S. Embassy reported road closures, including the main route to the airport. Protesters used the Zello app to plan new marches on government offices. Government and police spokespeople did not respond to inquiries. Now, at least one government office was burned as unrest grew. Civil servants and students were told to remain home, while state television reiterated the directive. Chadema, barred from the election alongside ACT Wazalendo, had called the polls a coronation for Samia Suluhu Hassan. Opposition leader Tundu Lissu, who is the leader of Chadema, faces treason charges. He is currently still in prison, and his case was moved to November 3, which is just after the election. The government has yet to release findings from an investigation into reported abductions of critics. However, Tanzania was certainly set alight yesterday. Sudanese paramilitary forces reportedly beat and executed men fleeing El-Fashir as it fell to the rapid support forces after an 18-month siege. Witness Ikram Abdelhameed described escaping with her children as missiles were fired ahead and behind. Her husband disappeared amid chaos. Men were separated from women at RSF checkpoints, and several were killed when they refused to identify themselves as soldiers. Abdelhameed said the women were ordered to move ahead, but the men never reappeared. Satellite imagery showed clusters resembling human bodies near RSF barriers. The UN condemned credible reports of executions and attacks along escape routes. Aid groups reported severe child malnutrition among displaced people in Tawila, where Abdelhameed sought refuge. Her infant grandson, orphaned during the siege, survived on rehydration salts. The RSF has denied widespread abuses, but promised an investigation investigation. The takeover solidifies the RSF's control over Darfur and splits Sudan between two rival authorities. About 26,000 fled El-Fashir, though most remain trapped amid famine and bombardment. The UN calls Sudan's war the world's worst humanitarian crisis. And we're staying with Sudan. Protesters gathered outside Downing Street in London to express solidarity with Sudanese civilians as the war entered a deadlier stage. The Rapid Support Forces capture of Darfur's capital Al-Fashir ended the army's presence in the region and raised fears of Sudan fracturing again, years after South Sudan's independence. Demonstrators called for global intervention and a boycott of the United Arab Emirates, accusing it of arming the RSF, allegations the UAE denies. Protester Yassin said the RSF had killed many civilians using Emirati weapons while the world stayed silent. Ziad Kashan described widespread destruction in Bari and Khartoum. The conflict, which began 2 years ago, has killed more than 40,000 people and displaced 14 million. Both the RSF and Sudanese army have been accused of war crimes and targeting civilians. Protesters urged stronger international pressure as Sudan's humanitarian catastrophe worsens, calling for accountability and an end to foreign involvement that fuels the fighting across Africa's third largest nation. We're going to take a quick break before we return with a response from the leader of the Rapid Support Forces in Sudan.
Have you ever wondered why Grandma keeps her money under the mattress? And why is Angela uninsured? The Namibia Financial Inclusion Survey 2025 will help us find all the answers. From 6 October till the 4th of November 2025, the Namibia Statistics Agency teams in uniforms with tablets will visit homes across all 14 regions to learn about financial access, informal banking and saving habits. Email us at info@nsa.org.na or at 061 431 3200.
Rapid Support Forces Commander Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemedti, announced an investigation into alleged abuses by his troops following the capture of El-Fashir. His statement came after global outrage over reports of mass killings in the Darfur city, with videos apparently showing executions. The UN's World Health Organization reported nearly 500 civilians, including hospital patients, were shot dead. The RSF denied ethnic targeting but acknowledged unspecified violations. Activists have urged international sanctions against the United Arab Emirates, accused of supporting the RSF, an allegation the UAE rejects. Al-Fashir's fall after an 18-month siege effectively divided Sudan between RSF-controlled Darfur and Kordofan and army-held eastern and central regions. The United Nations Security Council is expected to meet on Sudan's crisis, now in its third year. Once allies in 2021, Hemedti and the army leadership are locked in brutal conflict marked by starvation and bombardment, deepening Sudan's humanitarian and political fragmentation. Nigerian Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka revealed that the United States revoked his visa, citing new unspecified information. The 91-year-old author said the U.S. consulate asked him to bring his passport so the visa could be cancelled in person. At a press conference, he described the request as a curious love letter, ever the Soyinka, and advised institutions not to invite him. The embassy declined to comment. Soyinka, who once held U.S. residency, had renounced his green card in 2016 after Donald Trump's election, publicly cutting it in protest. He joked that it fell between the fingers of a pair of scissors. Known for his long teaching career in U.S. universities, Soyinka said his recent remarks comparing Trump to Uganda's Idi Amin might have influenced the decision. The U.S. recently reduced visa durations for several African countries. Soyinka questioned whether he would travel again, saying his age made it unlikely. He added that his ban underscores intolerance of dissent. And Cameroon's Constitutional Council this week declared President Biya re-elected for an 8th term with 53.7% of votes, defeating challenger Issa Shiroma Bakari's 35.2%. At 92, Biya remains the world's oldest head of state. Opposition supporters called the results rigged, while protests erupted in Douala and Garoua. Biya's prolonged rule, spanning over 4 decades, has drawn criticism for absentee governance, with long stays in Geneva sparking speculation about his health. Despite this, he is credited with maintaining national balance amid Cameroon's regional and linguistic divisions. Analysts describe him as a detached monarch-like figure whose administration operates with little political direction. His continued rule, aided by rivalries within the ruling party, has stifled leadership succession debates. Bakari's strong showing, especially among English-speaking regions, briefly raised hopes for change, yet Biya's re-election reaffirmed the status quo, leaving Cameroonians questioning the limits of democracy under his cautious, semi-authoritarian leadership as the country faces persistent unrest and economic stagnation. And in a joint statement, Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema and World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said cholera remains Africa's most politically driven health crisis. They noted that while countries like the United States and the United Kingdom eliminated cholera more than a century ago, outbreaks now rage in 32 nations, causing over 6,800 deaths this year, already surpassing last year's 6,000 fatalities, which were 50% higher than 2023's toll. The leaders argued that the disease persists not because of scientific limitations, but due to political inaction and weak governance. Conflict zones have worsened the spread, disrupting control efforts. The WHO-led Global Task Force on Cholera Control, involving more than 50 partners, continues to supply vaccines, improve detection, and educate communities. The statement urged urgent leadership and accountability to end preventable deaths, calling cholera both a symptom and a test of Africa's political will to prioritize public health. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Shortly, we'll get into a news focus with some of the stories of the week stemming from Namibia. But first, the weather. We focus on Namibia. Over half of Namibia's youth population is registered to vote in the upcoming regional and local authority elections scheduled for 26 November, according to the Electoral Commission of Namibia. 643,117 young people aged 18 to 35 are on the voters' roll, representing 42.9% of the 1,499,449 registered voters nationwide. Data from the Namibia Statistics Agency's 2024 census further indicates that the country's youth population aged 15 to 34 stands at about just over 1 million out of a total population of roughly 3 million, meaning nearly half of Namibia's young people are registered to vote. Vice President and keynote speaker Lucia Witbooi addressed the 8th Rundu Annual Trade Fair Expo, urging the business community to seize opportunities to create jobs, strengthen the local economy, and boost cross-border trade. She encouraged exhibitors to showcase their talents and called on regional leaders to support initiatives that improve livelihoods in the Kavango East region. Witbooi also noted that Rundu town is a fast-growing commercial hub along the Kavango River, with opportunities in agribusiness, tourism, housing, fisheries, renewable energy, and manufacturing, emphasizing that continued investment benefits both the region and the nation.
These are the building blocks of resilience, prosperity, and national unity. I therefore call upon the business community to seize the opportunity that this trade fair presents. Let us innovate, collaborate, and invest in the industries that will transform our economy and improve the livelihood of our families and our people. We would also like to encourage the regional leadership to ensure that this trade fair is supported wholeheartedly, as it not only benefits the local economy of the town, but to a larger extent the region itself. It is through these opportunities that jobs are created and the livelihood of our communities is improved. To our exhibitors, I encourage you. So next year we must have more than 206. From last year we have increased, so.
Now, following the redemption of the 750 million US euro bond by the government, Namibia's foreign debt exposure now stands at 15%, while 85% is composed of local debt. 99% of Namibia's debt also comprised South African rands, Finance Minister Erika Shafuda said.
As of now, following the redemption of the Eurobond, the overall government debt portfolio is expected to reflect a ratio of 85 to 15. That is to say, 85 in favor of the domestic market and 15% in terms of the international markets. It's also important to note that approximately 90% of the foreign debt is denominated in ZAR, South African rand, right? This strategic positioning contributes to an overall government debt portfolio that is 99% protected from the exchange rate risks. Very important news, right? Okay, to the esteemed citizens of Namibia, this significant achievement is a testament again to your unwavering resilience, dedication, and confidence in our common vision.
Continuing with more economic news, South Africa's Dis-Chem pharmacies reported a 9% increase in half-year earnings, fueled largely by an 11.1% surge in wholesale revenue, which reached 16.8 billion rand and remained the largest contributor to total group revenue of 21.3 billion rand. Now, headline earnings per share rose 73.8 cents for the 6 months ending August 31, up to 67.7 cents the previous year. CEO Rui Moraes acknowledged the constrained consumer environment, but highlighted the company's innovation pipeline and data-driven approach as positioning Dis-Chem for sustainable long-term growth. The wholesale division now serves 1,608 independent pharmacies, representing approximately 85% of South Africa's independent pharmacy market. During this period, Dis-Chem opened 17 new retail pharmacy stores, bringing the total to 302, along with 44 retail baby stores. The company continues to compete closely with Clicks Group while implementing strategies to expand its footprint across the country, combining retail growth with wholesale market penetration and leveraging technology to enhance customer service and operational efficiency, signaling confidence in navigating South Africa's dynamic healthcare and retail landscape. In the last of our economic news stories, several African nations maintained low diesel costs in October 2025, with Libya, Angola, and Sudan recording no change, while Algeria, Tunisia, Ethiopia, and Gabon experienced slight reductions. Conversely, Egypt and Nigeria saw marginal increases, and Liberia replaced Madagascar in the top 10 for lowest diesel prices. Low diesel costs are significant for the continent's economy, reducing transportation expenses for trucks, buses, and farm machinery, which stabilizes retail pricing, lowers household costs, and supports agricultural productivity. Farmers benefit by allocating savings towards seeds, fertilizers, and technology, boosting output and securing food supply. Small enterprises and informal transport providers also gain from reduced operational overhead, enabling continued employment and profitability. Affordable diesel ensures safe commuting, accessible public transportation, and overall social stability. By keeping fuel prices steady, nations can manage inflation, encourage investment, and support small businesses, agriculture, and transport networks. Ultimately, low diesel costs provide long-term economic benefits, sustaining development while alleviating pressure on households and enabling strategic planning for businesses and public services across the continent. Let's have a look at the economic indicators. We end with some sport news. Morocco, as host nation, automatically qualified for the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations, while Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, Zambia, Tanzania, Malawi, Algeria, Cape Verde, Burkina Faso, and Kenya secured their spots through the second round of qualifiers. Nigeria advanced 3-1 over Benin, South Africa edged DR Congo 2-1, and Ghana achieved a 7-0 aggregate against Egypt. Malawi and Cape Verde debut in the tournament following second-round victories. The 4 remaining slots will be filled by the best-performing losers from the second round, with CAF to decide the final participants. Scheduled from March 17 to April 3 next year, the expanded 16-team tournament will also serve as qualifiers for the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup. The qualifiers reflect growing competitiveness and inclusivity in African women's football, while providing emerging nations opportunities to showcase talent on a continental stage. Teams advancing through rigorous matches highlight the depth of footballing talent across Africa. As the tournament approaches, attention shifts to preparation, tactical planning, and integration of the youth and emerging players, promising a highly competitive and historic edition of WAFCON for the continent. And in the last of our stories, African investors Nasefa Sawiris, Kuntle Soname, and Neka Ede are reshaping European football through strategic acquisitions and innovative club management. Sawiris of Egypt revived Aston Villa and expanded to Vitoria SC via V Sports, restoring Villa to the Premier League and establishing a multi-club ownership model. Nigerian entrepreneur Soname acquired CD Furness, connecting African talent pipelines to Europe while maintaining the club's operational structure. Neka Ede became one of the first African women to own a European club by purchasing Lusitano Ginasio Club, prioritizing inclusivity and youth development. These investments reflect Africa's growing influence in global sports ownership, signaling a shift from being talent exporters to becoming strategic leaders, shaping football's economic and operational landscape. Their ventures emphasize representation, business acumen, and gender inclusion, challenging traditional European dominance and creating pathways for African talent. By embedding themselves in club ownership and youth development, these billionaires are cultivating ecosystems that blend financial growth, sports leadership, and continental pride, demonstrating Africa's active and transformative role in the global football economy. Those have been our stories on Africa Good Morning, not just for today, for the entire week. Thank you for joining us on DSTV 285, GoTV 25, ntvafrica.my.na, and NTV Africa on YouTube. We certainly look forward to continuing this journey of highlighting Africa's most potent stories on Monday when we go to Zambia with Mike Situla delivering the Zambia report. And of course, we'll still be giving you the updates from broader Africa. We understand there is significant unrest in Tanzania right now. Do follow our social media pages, Africa Good Morning. We're also on TikTok, Africa Good Morning, so that we can make sure that you stay updated right up until we're back for the broadcast. My name is Ashwin Berry. It's been a wonderful October. See you in November. Suresh Kanaka.